Welcome to Massive Passive Cash Flow, the podcast that guides professionals to financial prosperity. Join our community and let's start building your wealth. Here's your host, Gary Wilson.
Welcome back to the Massive Passive Cash Flow podcast. I'm Gary Wilson, your host. I'm so glad to have you back on the show, listening or watching, whichever the case may be. We got an excellent guest today, Nancy Braun from awesome Charlotte, North Carolina. For those of you listening, you know I'm a big fan of Charlotte because a lot of people have made a lot of money there, including me. So in any case, Nancy, thank you so much for being on the show. I know you're super busy running a brokerage, so I feel like we're really lucky to have you. So thank you for joining us.
I'm honored. Thank you.
You got it. Hey, I want to ask a first question, is a little background, because I've noticed over the years, people like you and I, most of us, we weren't born saying we're going to be a real estate broker. We were born wanting to be a doctor or an astronaut or something, So take us to when you first broke into the professional world, like you going from university to professional world. And what was the trigger? What brought you into real estate? Was there something like your own home you bought or something that happened in the legal field that brought you into this?
Well, I did go through a number of careers before I landed this one. This one stuck. I've been in it almost 30 years. All the others, I pretty much did, 3 to 5 year stints in each career. So I attribute my sticking with real estate just because it's so diverse and so interesting and it keeps my mind going. So I'm never bored. Whereas my prior careers, I would kind of get anxious. So I grew up in New York. I went to Cornell, and then I worked in retail management in Brooklyn. And then I was missing college, the environment. So I went to law school, not intending to be a lawyer, and ended up in law school, loved it, and then started practicing law and was in a corporate environment. But I always fantasized about opening a restaurant. So I went ahead and quit law and opened a restaurant. I was the chef owner. Did that for 5 years. Now I just make reservations. That's behind me. And then I realized I was tired of being in cold and I wanted to be in a strong economic growth environment. And I moved to Charlotte, and that was the best move I ever made. I love it here. So we have 273 days of sunshine and the economy's strong. It's been growing and it's welcoming to newcomers. So I built a real estate career accidentally. I didn't have really any direction. I was just prompted by my father, who I later learned fantasized about being a realtor when he retired, but he didn't do it. Mm-hmm. So he kind of lived through me. And it was a great career because it's more than just real estate. It's about owning a business. It's great for an entrepreneur.
Yeah. It's funny. There's definitely some commonality there. I know for me, I like the fact that every day is different. Every client's different. Every transaction is different. And it just keeps me interested, quite frankly,
Right.
So, yeah. I love the fact that you were
every day. Every day I learned something. So,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I love the fact you're the first person I've interviewed that was also at one point a chef owner. I mean, you're like the most multi-talented person I think I've met so far. Well, that's pretty cool though. So now in your brokerage, first of all, what is the name of the brokerage?
Showcase, and I also own a property management company, Carolina Property Management.
So Showcase and Carolina Property Management. Excellent. Mm-hmm. Two separate entities, I'm gathering.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I did the same thing. Smart. It's good to do that. So your client base now, so obviously you serve traditional owner occupants, people looking to sell, to buy their own homes. And it sounds like you also serve the investor community too.
I do. I also have a wide experience in the REO world, as well as currently representing quite a few hedge funds. So I represent them in their acquisitions and their dispositions. And that also feeds into my general brokerage, my retail brokerage. So right now I'm kind of fortunate. I have a lot of listings. When I know agents are starving for listings, I've got quite a bit. And that generates my phone ringing and a lot of buyer leads. And I have a team of agents that handle all the leads that come in, which are vast. So
yeah, we know it's interesting. So you have the relationships with the hedge funds. And I'm gathering you probably have some relationships with some of the banks too, or they'll be developing as the economy. Well, we don't know what the economy is going to do anymore, but we'll certainly have a correct. It's mathematically certain that we're going to have a correction at some point. But so with that I'm gathering helps you attract a lot of investors too. I
That's
want
right.
all the agents to listen. If you're a real estate agent and you're wondering what the market's going to do in the economy, all we can do is give you the math behind it. We can't tell you exactly when it's going to happen. We tried that before and it just doesn't work. But I will tell you this. Um, I've been through this, and so has Nancy. When you learn how to work with the banks, you'll have no shortage of business because you'll have the inventory, you have the supply, and the demand will find you automatically. Remember, real estate is supply and demand. You're in the marketing business. So in any case, I want to stop talking. So I want to go back to you, Nancy. So, but when you first started out in brokerage, were you doing more traditional real estate, or did you come into it with some of those relationships, like with the hedge funds and so forth?
No, I just started in a regular local real estate office and answered phones and did phone duty and worked building my business. But I kind of lucked into getting a phone call from one of the big banks, and maybe a year into my business, and no one else in the office wanted to mess with it. And I'm like, yeah, shot. So that was my entry. I kind of just, I was always open to trying different things and diversifying my business. So I sort of landed into that. It wasn't a dominant part of my business. I was 12 years with that firm, but it was a volume. I had a lot of units, but my dollars were coming in from just retail sales, and I attribute some of my longevity in the business and success in the business is that I have a diversified funnel of incomes coming in from all different realms. So I'm not defined as a luxury broker only. I do
Right.
luxury, but I also do all the other facets of real estate. So when one part of the industry is down, I have income coming in from other parts. So my operation
Yeah.
is still always moving. So yeah, I kind of lucked into it. And I'll tell you, I was just doing mostly general brokerage, but I had Fannie by then, I had HUD and stuff like that. But then I opened my own company. I had no idea there was going to be a crash. It was 2008. Crash happened. I shifted gears and I went right into REO. And that kept me alive for a number of years. And then I shifted gears again and retrained my team so we could be successful in general brokerage.
Yeah. Well, that's a telltale sign of a successful brokerage when you do that. Sadly, a lot of brokers I have learned over the years had really not been profitable. In fact, statistically, being owning a brokerage is like the least profitable thing you can do in real estate.
Right.
But it's if you do what you did, which is exactly what I did. I had property management and title and appraisal and all these different businesses, and we were more easily able to shift when the economy shifted. So in Charlotte right now, um, is there a particular sector that's doing better than others? Like, are the investors doing really well now versus like the owner occupants, the luxury market? What do you see happening, or what do you see developing there? I guess I should say.
2024 was tough for a lot of realtors. It was
Mhm.
a slowdown, like you saw, with the higher interest rates. So we were always busy, but I saw outside the statistics show that it was slower. But we were very strong during COVID, like the rest of the world, but really strong. And the investors, the big hedge funds, were really dominating our market and buying up a ton of properties. 2024, they kind of stopped. In 2023, maybe they stopped buying, and we started to see some of the more successful hedge funds come back into the market. They were only taking up a small percentage of the acquisitions.
Yeah.
We're generally seeing investors are starting to pop back in. Owner occupants are in. It's kind of an even, steady. There's no one buyer that's dominating the market, but it's kind of steady. And we're starting to see a little bit of a pickup.
Yeah. Well, I think what's interesting is the consumers, they're pretty smart. I mean, they have access to a lot of data today that we didn't have 20 years ago. And I think what was happening, they were just getting tired of waiting. They just thought, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and buy, or I'm going to go ahead and sell. They're tired of waiting around. And they realized obviously things weren't all that bad after all. I think through the pandemic, the price increases, the rate increases, we're all still here. we're still living, eating, breathing. So I think they just got tired of waiting, and the rate drops certainly probably helped a little bit. But the investors too. The thing I like about investors is it was always there. They're steady. I mean, certainly they're more active when the market's down because they buy more, just like we do in the stock market. But even in a up market, some of them will exit some of their properties that are high priced and repurpose that money and get into different sectors. Like I'm seeing a lot of people get into midterm, what we used to call corporate housing rentals. Traveling nurses, traveling business people, things like that. So when you're in your property management, is it mostly traditional residential property management, or do you also serve? Do you have any retail, office space, and short-term rentals and that type of thing
We
too?
do. We do. Majority is single family condos, townhomes. We do some multifamily. We have a little bit in commercial. I personally do some Airbnbs myself that I self-manage and own. And I also manage Airbnbs for short-term rentals for others. But the dominant part of our property management is the regular mom and pop that has 3 or 4 properties, and they need someone to manage their property. I absolutely love that part of my business. It gets me so excited. I enjoy it so much. I enjoy helping the investors. I enjoy helping them create wealth. And I love, that we're providing a really superior product for these homeowners that really have been, some of them come to us just really dying to get a good manager that they can trust, that answers the phone, that talks to their tenants, that has good retention rate. And it's really, I feel like it's a market that I can really stand out in and excel in, because some of the older property management companies haven't really taken on technology or staffed up correctly. And they're still in the old school, and I think we're delivering a better product. So I feel really strongly about my property management. I love it. And like you said, we represent a lot of investors, so it was sort of natural that we also help them after they acquire a property, that we manage it for them. So it's kind of all, all service.
Well, one thing for sure, and for everybody listening here, if you're an entrepreneur, I know a lot of you listening are agents and investors too. And there's agents who just want to do their transactions and get to the next day, and that's fine. But a lot of you are entrepreneurs, and I want you to really pay attention to what Nancy's showing and explaining to you, because it's the same thing I did. I don't have a degree in real estate. I just saw the need, and I served the need because I already had the client. But the thing I love about property management, Nancy, is I've probably built more friendships from that than I ever got business from friends, because you're helping them manage one of the biggest investments of their life, an income producing asset. And guys, if you're an investor, let me just tell you, finding the properties and investing, it ends up being the easy part. The challenge is managing them in profitability. And that's why you need somebody like Nancy who's doing that for you. Your expertise is investing, not management. Let Nancy do that. She's good at it. I'm telling you, just remember that this motto: there's offense and defense. Offense is going out there and scoring points and finding the properties and investing. Defense is keeping your property in production, up and running, safe, clean, reliable, up to code, and out of trouble. And that's why I need. But by the way, Nancy has a law degree. Who else would you want managing your properties than somebody that has the technology, knows what the heck they're doing, and is a lawyer too? I'm telling you where I'm putting my money. So, but hey, now I want to switch gears a little bit, Nancy. There's a lot of benefits, not just to the clients. When you manage properties, have you also gotten other related business just by the fact that you manage these properties for people, like lead sourcing and things like that? Kind of, if you could expand on that a little bit, because I want these agents to really dig in and listen here and learn. This is one of the best podcasts we've had actually for a while. So
thank you. Yeah. So I do want to preface that agents that dabble in property management really mess up. So they need to be careful. If you either go in it 100% or don't try it, because I inherit properties from people that have self-managed, or they had the agent that sold them the property, managed the property for them. And it's a wreck when I get it. It's a train wreck. You can hear the train in the background. So yeah, I mean, I really caution that. If I got into property management slowly, I wanted to make sure I dotted my I's across my T's before I really did management for others. And it's a learning curve. So I do think you really need to do that. Otherwise, a lot of people come to me that are self-managing and they're in trouble. They took in someone that was fraudulent, that, falsified their documentation. They thought they were stellar, background checks, and it turned out the opposite. And then they didn't pay any rent. The first month's security bounced by the time they gave them a key. And then they have all this damage. So they were trying to save a couple $100 a month. And instead they, are out of pocket $20,000 and more to get the property rent ready again and to get someone evicted. Yeah. So I do caution that, you're absolutely right. These investors, they're really great at acquiring the properties and deploying their money, but they should invest in a great property management company that can maximize the return for them and protect their asset.
Did you know that you can participate in class every Monday? We call it Monday Night Live, 7 p.m. Eastern, with me and dozens of other investor agents from around the country, in fact, the world. Every Monday, totally free. No selling, no recruiting, just straight up education on anything and everything in real estate. And we have a lot of good guests coming on once or twice a month, bringing in expertise on subjects like how to buy a house with crypto. Okay. How about them apples? What about AI? How's AI affecting our business? How about the metaverse, blockchain processing? We're already using it in title work. So come on to Monday Night Live. Be ready to take notes and ask questions because it's live and engaging, and you get to participate by asking questions and meeting others. So we'll see you there. Go to realestatewithgarywilson.com, click on the resource tab, drop down, and you'll see Monday Night Live. And in there, you can see one of the most recent classes. But more importantly, you can register for class as many as you want going up to like the end of the year, I believe. So in any case, do that. We'll see you on Monday Night Live. Look forward to meeting you in person. Take care. Yeah, absolutely. Well, the other thing too is not to kind of stay on this rabbit hole in property management, but it turns out, you have all these relationships now, not just with the owners and the tenants, but all of the service providers, contractors, inspectors, appraisers, bankers, other attorneys, municipal employees. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. You have their contact information. And we realize this is another gold mine. We should be marketing to all these people too. I mean, respectfully, of course, and we did. And we ended up, that property management business grew from 40 units to 700 units in 3 years. And Nancy, guess how much money we spent on advertising?
I don't know. Nothing. It was all from
zero
referrals and
yeah,
great.
Yeah, we got this one dentist and he loved us so much. He's told all the dentists, and dentists actually make great investors, by the way.
They do. Yes.
Yeah.
So you do commercial as well, then I'm guessing, because you're probably offices.
Yes. I did it full time for a while, and I really liked my sweet spot is that transition place where we take investors who start off in a residential world and they buy a duplex and a triplex and a fourplex, then they buy an eightplex, and it's still, the commercial brokers aren't going to get excited about that. But then they'll start buying 20 units. And I got into the big high-rise development arena, and it's just a different thing. And I just didn't really care for it. I know it sounds crazy because the commissions were huge, but I wasn't happy. I wasn't in my wheelhouse. I went back to that magical place where people are moving into the next level. And that's really where we made our fortune and made our reputation. And that's where I'm comfortable too investing. I don't, I've had big apartment complexes, and they have a lot of good things. Believe me, the upside potential is tremendous, but the downside stuff, I just was like, oh my gosh, I want to get back to the neighborhoods. I don't want to be in the city blocks. I want to be out in the suburbs. It's just, life's easier for me out there. But back to you now. So this is getting really good. So you got the brokerage, you've got property management. The clientele you have, I'm sure you have a lot of local business, of course, but are you attracting people from also out of state, coming? Okay, that's awesome.
Our property owners and investors are coming from out of state because Charlotte's a pretty reasonable market. Our average price now is about $500. For years, it was like 200, 300,000, and you couldn't touch anything in California or New York at that price. So you still see institutional and individual investors investing in the Charlotte market, and we're projected to be a very large city in the future. I just read, I think our population is going to grow to 4.5 million by 2050, and it's going to be a prominent city. So we have seen huge appreciation on our inventory, and I know interest rates are high and prices seem high, but I've been here 30 years and I've only seen, except for that one blip, everything go up in value. So I do think it's a very strong market, because we really have been a growth zone, and we have a lot of people coming in from all different countries as well as all different states investing in their properties. So yeah, I think it's a good target for investors to think about Charlotte. And back to your other question, which I didn't answer, the relationship, something that occurred to me is, when you are affiliated with a property manager and you're an investor, when I have an investor that says, I'm ready to get out of the market, I'm aged and I'm, want to just sell my inventory, or want to do a 1031, we reach out to our investors that we're managing their properties and we give them first chance. We say, hey, someone's got 8 houses they want to sell. Are you interested in any of them? So that's another, relationship building opportunity for investors if they're affiliated with a good property management company that also does brokerage, because we learn about off-market properties and other properties that our clients don't want to hold anymore.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That the networking component of it, I wasn't even really thinking of that per se, but that is absolutely true. Because you have clients from so many different areas, it's not like they're really competing with each other. It's just there's no. I always tell people I have agents tell me, well, there's no inventory, and I politely correct them. I say, well, I know what you mean. You mean there's not a lot that's on the listing services, but the inventory is still there. The properties never go anywhere. They, there's barring disaster, some type of a storm or something, but the properties are still there. They're always going to change hands. Even in the last recession we had, that was a big one. That was clearly the biggest economic downturn we had since the Great Depression. And I know people are waiting for the next one. And I hate to tell you, there's no guarantee you're going to have anything like that again, guys. That was very unique. It was because of the mortgage market meltdown. It wasn't based on traditional economic factors. It wasn't a classic recession. It just wasn't. And I'd like to think that we're not dumb enough to let that happen again.
I don't think it's going to happen again.
I agree.
All the servicers are saying that they're selling their notes if they go low. They don't want to have foreclosure on their target. So a lot of that bad inventory or non-performing inventory is going right to investors, and the banks aren't unloading them because there's too many regulations constricting what they can do.
Exactly. So for all the agents out there, remember your investors are listening on here too, and they're paying attention. Just remember, it really doesn't matter so much if something's on market or off market. You still earn your keep. You earn a commission. Just because it's off market, this means it's not on the MLS. Sellers still want to sell, and there's a lot of investor properties. Buyers are looking for off market deals, and sellers are selling off market. Now, there's reasons for that. I'm not a big fan of selling off market, because I know if I sell on market, I have a much broader audience. I can get more lookers, more offers, and drive the price up. But people want their anonymity and all that kind of stuff. And I get it. I'm just, politely try to remind them, when you reduce your marketplace, you reduce the opportunities to sell at a higher price. So keep that in mind, sellers. When you think you want to sell off market, there's a reason why all the buyers want to buy off market. And it's not the two needs at once are opposed, so keep that in mind. But in any case, so for everybody listening, I know we got people listening mostly in the US and followed by Canada and other countries in different continents, but you've got a great city, obviously growing. People have called it the next Atlanta. I think, quite frankly, it's going to be, no offense to Atlanta, been there quite a bit, but Charlotte has the benefit of growing up in a new modern economy. It's just a different era. It is. The infrastructure is all relatively new. You got a major airport that's just, Hartsfield's the busiest in the world, quite frankly, than Atlanta. look at Douglas, Charlotte in Charlotte. There's plenty of room for expansion. It's well run. It's organized. I've been in and out of there plenty of time. I spent several nights in those rocking chairs, through no fault of Charlotte. So I think it just cracks me up. I'm like, reminds me of my grandparents' home when I was a kid down in South Carolina, the big giant rocking chair on the porch. But it's a great area, great sports teams. You've got the mountains nearby, the beach not too far away, a beautiful lake called Lake Norman. You're right on a major interstate. It's been expanding ever since I was a kid, and I don't see any end in sight. And there's lots of room for growth in both North and South Carolina. And I'm going to give all the non-locals a big hint here. You're going to hear the term North Kakalaki and South Kakalaki. It's just a slang term for the Carolinas. Don't worry about it. But I will tell you, I'm partial to South Carolina. Nothing against North Carolina. I just the real estate brokerage, whatever industry in North Carolina, it's different. It's the way they run it. It truly is different than almost every other state. It works. It's just different. But South Carolina, it has its pros and cons too. But I think you're going to find more expansion opportunity to the south long term. It's just my personal feeling. I could be completely wrong, but there's plenty of land there. Nobody's paying too much attention to it. So just do what you think is right for you and call Nancy. So Nancy, back to you. When it comes to expanding, you're in both North and South Carolina, correct?
Yeah, I practice in both. Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Okay. Now, would you mind, if you don't mind, divulging maybe some of your insider secrets? In spite of what I just said, are you seeing long-term more growth in the North Carolina versus South, or South versus North? And what can people look towards going up towards like Kannapolis and Concord and all that, and then down past Rock Hill, excuse me,
So South Carolina is historically less expensive than North Carolina, but the hitch is that you're going to possibly pay 3 times the property tax in South Carolina.
Yeah.
They have a homestead exemption. So if you're an owner occupant, you're going to pay probably maybe on a $200,000 home, you might be at $1,200 in taxes. And then if you're an investor, you might be at $3,600 a year in taxes.
Oh, wow.
And they typically the homeowner's insurance is higher and the car insurance is higher. So the property taxes is one of the reasons why you have to really consider whether you want to invest in South Carolina. So I favor North Carolina, unlike you, but I do think there is some opportunities to get things for less money in South Carolina, and there's a growth, but you're going to be stuck with those high property taxes, which can be a lot. That's like $300 a month. That's, you pay another couple hundred in insurance. You're not going to necessarily have the return you want. And I have seen over time that the properties generally appreciate faster in North Carolina, closer to Charlotte. The only problem with North Carolina is in the Charlotte area, you've got a lot of competition. You've got the hedge funds because they know about the taxes. So they're not focused on South Carolina, because if they're going to buy and hold, you're going to be stuck with the property taxes. It's different if you're going to buy and flip. So you're going to flip, then it won't affect you as much.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you bringing that up, and I'm not offended at all. But in fact, when you said that, my entrepreneurial brain goes, "Hey, we make a great partnership," So because you want to have both markets. But I will tell you, the North Carolina, the expansion that I've seen there, going up 85 and up 77, it's really well done. Beautiful, wonderful neighborhoods. I mean, I'm not knocking South Carolina because my family's from there. I could get in trouble for this, but I'm just going to tell you, it's actually prettier north of Charlotte. Going out, that's just nicer looking neighborhoods. It's just my opinion, but it's what I've noticed, and the expansion is continuing in both directions. So looking forward here, we're in almost 2025. We got a new administration coming in. I know there's a lot of uncertainty, but one of the things I noticed about Charlotte is going back to the Opportunity Zone program that was put in the prior administration, prior to the first Trump administration, is really holding out well. This current administration didn't mess with it at all because it's such a great thing. And everywhere I've talked to people, Detroit, Columbus, Ohio, everybody's like, no, it's going great. have you done any business with that all around Charlotte, or know anybody that does investing in the opportunity zones there?
Underutilized here. I have seen
Wow.
some of the areas really improve because of it became an opportunity zone, and so there's more money fueling in. But I don't see a lot of investors coming to me and saying, I want to be in the opportunity zone, and they should. I mean, it's such
Yeah.
a great tax savings. I don't think it's been promoted and pushed as much. And a lot of agents don't even know about it. So
Yeah.
they might list a property under value because they don't know it's in an opportunity zone and they don't even check. So yeah, I think it's a great opportunity to invest in those areas. Mhm.
Yeah. Well, so any investor listening right now, you can actually Google opportunity zone, go to the government website, and you can get a map of any area in the country. Just get the map for Charlotte, and you'll see. And I have met somebody who does invest here. It's been a few years since I've spoken to him. But at the time, he was like, he was giddy. I think he said, like you said, he said, Gary, it's like nobody knows this is here. There's no competition in the
Yeah,
opportunity zones, and he's making at the time was making some pretty good money. I think the benefit was if you hold it for a certain period of time, you don't have to pay the capital gains tax or something like that. I don't
yeah,
know the specific details, but
that's
that's
right.
huge.
It
You
is
know?
huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
So some big, more sophisticated investors seem to be aware of that, and they're
Okay.
building, big apartment buildings and complexes, and some interesting industrial sites they're renovating. But I don't see
Yeah.
it when it's coming to single family rentals. I don't see
Mhm.
people understanding that it's a really great opportunity. And I've noticed that when I list a home in an opportunity zone, I market it that way. But I'm about the only
Yeah.
one that I ever see a home that's listed that says opportunity zone in bold letters. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna throw this out there, everybody. Here's an ideal investment idea. You know, there's a lot of mortgages out there now that have the low average of 3% rate. They're just now becoming on the market, and a lot of them, FHA, VA, and USDA, they're all 100% assumable if you qualify as a buyer. Okay, so what if you could find some of these properties inside an opportunity zone where you could assume the mortgage? That's the owner gets complete release of liability because you qualify just like you would qualify for your own mortgage. And then if it's an opportunity zone, if you do it correctly, you purchase it and hold it long enough, you don't have to pay capital gains. And that I could be all wet there, but my entrepreneurial brain's kicking in. I'm thinking, what a way to go. You get a low rate loan by
mhm,
assuming it that's already been partially amortized, and you get a tax break on the back end too. So,
that's
and
brilliant.
I think you should call Nancy too, by the way, to do. Hey, by the way, speaking of calling Nancy, how can people get a hold of you? Social media, a website? If you could go ahead and rattle those off, we'll make sure they
Yeah,
get in the show
so
notes too, Nancy.
yeah, I have a very strong social media presence. So definitely look up Showcase Realty, Nancy Braun, Carolina Property Management. Our website is Carolinas with an S propertymanagement.com, showcaserealty.net. And follow me. I'm all over all the social media platforms, and please, connect with me on LinkedIn. I would love to, answer any questions or help anyone figure out where they want to do their next investment opportunity. So, yeah, and you can call our office 704-997-3794. But definitely check me out on social media. That would be great. We have I do regular videos and updates that are really content based. So they're not just sales based.
Okay, good. So I'm gonna repeat this. So the office number is 704-997-3794.
Got it. Yep.
Oh, good. And
Yeah.
then and the property manager is Carolinas with an S, Carolinas,
Yeah.
right? And
Propertymanagement.com.
.com, property.com. And then the showcase is showcaserealty.net. That's a .net.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. And if you're driving and listening right now, it's Nancy Braun, Braun. So I would take her up on that. On social media, should they search for your name or the business entity names, or I mean, we'll
Yeah,
both get
they'll
them.
find me. Yeah, definitely. Just put in Nancy Braun Realtor or Showcase Realty in Charlotte, and you'll find us for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Would love to help anyone that wants help with that, figuring out their next investment move.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate this. I mean, this has been an excellent podcast interview, and you gave a lot of details, a lot of information. I mean, anybody listening should get the big picture now. It's a great place to live in Charlotte and the surrounding suburbs, great place to invest in. You offer both sales and property management in both states, North and South Carolina. And the fact that you've got a diverse background, different industries, including law. I mean, I can hear the investors now licking their chops. Can't wait to get you on the phone and talk to you. And you invest too. That's the other thing.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Well, thank you again, Nancy, and thank you, listeners and people watching us on YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn. Please leave a review. I mean, you have to admit, this is probably one of the best podcasts you've had because it gave you so much. You've got an actual person to talk to in a good area. So please leave a review. We appreciate that. Your review is our fuel that makes the podcast go. And check out Nancy. Again, go to Carolina's Property Management.com and showcaserealty.net. Okay. And then also on social media. So in the meantime, take care of yourselves. God bless you and your loved ones. And we will see you on the next Massive Passive Cash Flow podcast.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Massive Passive Cash Flow. Be sure to go to realestatewithgarywilson.com to join our community and start building wealth today.